Hi there, and welcome to The Daily Gardener, an almanac of garden history, literature, and small botanical joys. I'm Jennifer Ebling, and today is April 20th. The poet Edna St. Vincent Millay once asked April a question most of us have never dared to ask. To what purpose, April, do you return again? Beauty is not enough. What a thing to say to spring. And yet, she's not wrong, is she? We don't just go out to the garden to admire it. We go to dig, to feed something, to fix what winter broke, to feel useful, to feel grounded, to get some exercise, and to remember who we are when we're not looking at a screen. The beauty may pull us into the garden, but something else keeps us there. The question Edna was really asking, the one underneath the beautiful one, is this: how will I grow from this garden? From the lessons I understand, and from the ones I never will. Here's today's garden history. It was on this day in 1840 that the French painter Odilon Redon was born on an isolated estate north of Bordeaux in southwestern France. Odilon was a quiet child, drawn to weather and shadow, and to the long hours of watching clouds drift and dissolve. As a young man, Odilon spent countless hours at the botanical gardens in Bordeaux, working alongside the curator, Armand Claveau. There, Odilon learned to use a microscope to study algae, pollen, and the minute architectures that live just beyond ordinary sight. That patience never left him. His paintings would come to hold floating forms, hybrid beings, and flowers that seemed to think rather than bloom. But underneath every dreamlike surface was the discipline of someone who had spent years looking at what most people walk past. In his private writings, Odilon described the landscape of his childhood this way: dear and vast country which I admire, and which moves me so much. You whose low sky caresses and consoles me, whose deep clouds and green hills almost bring me the memory of a happy childhood in a world where happiness and innocence are unknown. You take weakness from my mind. Later in life, Odilon settled into a small garden outside Paris. Odilon planted not for order, but for atmosphere. Poppies, anemones, and nasturtiums, all with papery petals that caught the light just before fading. Odilon brought them indoors as they wilted, not to preserve them, but to learn what they revealed at the end. The garden taught Odilon color, not as ornament, but as feeling. He once said, "I am repelled by those who voice the word nature without having any trace of it in their hearts." Odilon died in 1916 at 75 years old. He was still painting flowers, and the garden was still teaching him. And it was on this day in 1850 that the American sculptor Daniel Chester French was born. Daniel is remembered for monuments, stone and bronze, shaped into permanence. But the place Daniel trusted most was his garden. At his summer home in the Berkshires, Daniel treated the land as a working studio. Paths were cut and recut, trees removed, then spared, light studied as carefully as clay. Daniel built a narrow railroad track from his studio out into the garden so he could roll massive sculptures into open air and see how they held themselves against the sky. Daniel once wrote, "A statue that is to stand in the open air must be born in the open air." When the work inside grew heavy, Daniel disappeared into the woods, not to seek grandeur, but to kneel near wild columbine or watch sunlight slip through the pine needles. There was one tree Daniel refused to touch, a towering eastern white pine, Pinus strobus. He treated it like an elder. Daniel sat beneath it often, deciding what could be altered and what must remain. Daniel died in 1931 at 81. His garden still exists today, Chesterwood, in Stockbridge, Massachusetts. It's open to visitors during the growing season. You can still walk the woodland paths that Daniel cut by hand. You can stand where Daniel framed the mountains and watch how light still moves across the ground before it ever reaches stone. In today's Unearthed Words, we hear an excerpt on creative labor from the Spanish artist Joan Miró, born on this day in 1893. Joan grew up in Catalonia among farms, red earth, and olive trees. Even after moving to Paris, Joan carried that soil with him, sometimes literally. Here are Joan's words. I think of my studio as a vegetable garden. Things grow there slowly. You have to water. You have to graft. You have to wait for ripening. Joan was a painter who thought like a gardener. I'm not sure there's a higher compliment than that. It's time to grow that garden library with today's book, Flora Culture by Christin Geall. It's Flower and Flora's week here on The Daily Gardener, and that means that all of the book recommendations this week are devoted to flowers, not just as beauty, but as history, labor, and living culture. Christin is a horticulturist and cultural writer working at the intersection of flowers, labor, history, and ethics. In the pages of Flora Culture, flowers are never neutral. They move through ceremony and trade, through migration and power, and through beauty and cost. Christin writes about growers and designers across continents, about the hands that harvest, the systems that move flowers across the globe, and the quiet choices we make when we bring a bloom home. At one point, Christin writes, flowers shape my years now. They're both calendar and clock, and all-consuming love I bow to as graciously as I can. Calendar and clock, flowers marking time not by dates, but by bloom, scarcity, scent, and what the land is willing to give, and what it asks in return. This is a book for gardeners who already love flowers and are ready to love them more honestly. And finally, here's something sweet to ignite the little botanic spark in your heart. It was on this day in 1789 that the morning broke, cool and damp, along the Schuylkill River as George Washington approached Gray's Ferry on his way to New York and his inauguration. The water moved slowly beneath a floating bridge, and the bridge had become a garden. Laurel, cedar, white pine, and evergreens woven into arches so tall they seemed to rise straight out of the river. The air smelled sharp and green. The crowds fell quiet as Washington stepped forward. Hidden above the central arch was a laurel wreath, lowered gently on a silk line. For a moment it hovered. Washington reached up and caught it, and held it, but did not wear it. Washington did not want a crown, not of gold and not of leaves. The greenery had been gathered by William and John Bartram, sons of the botanist John Bartram Sr., from their riverside garden just downstream. Native plants, living architecture. Washington stood there a moment and then moved on to the business of the day. The river moving beneath him and the green smell of America rising all around. As we close the show today, remember Edna wanted more than beauty. She wanted to be answered, and the garden does answer, but not in words, in weight, in the resistance of soil, and in the smell of rain and earth. It answers in the ache of muscles that did real work, in the corner that finally looks right, and in the thing you planted that came back. We cannot separate the beauty out. It's woven into all of it. But Edna was onto something. Beauty gets us to the gate, and the garden makes us want to stay. Thanks for listening to The Daily Gardener. And remember, for a happy, healthy life, garden every day.